planning for this?
Welcome back, TPR Nation. This is Jamie Shilanski in an episode of Worlds to Conquer, and we are going to dive into a super fun topic. So if you are not a touchy-feely person, if you are not the type of person that enjoys going through DISC and Colby and, languages of love and all of those kind of different things, then you're going to be super irritated to listen to this podcast today, because that is exactly what we're going to dive into. However, if you are like that, much like my baby brother, Micah Shilanski is, in fact, what did he say recently? He said, I don't fill out Colby reports, just like I don't listen to horoscopes to predict how my day is going to go. A terrible thing to say. There are certainly people that put way too much emphasis on emotional intelligence, and there are people that put zero emphasis on emotional intelligence. But in my role as a leader on different organizations is about compromising, negotiating, and motivating and empowering individuals. And in order to do that, these kind of emotional intelligent things are important for teams to go through. So we wrapped up last year. We had an annual end-of-year retreat, and we had a whole topic of things that we wanted to discuss with our team members. And before we got started, the very first day when we all came together, we began the entire retreat. It was over 3 days. And we began the retreat by discussing some emotional intelligence things. We gave out different surveys and quizzes and had people go through different exercises. And then we would show what those meant and then how to tally the results. And so I was super pumped to go through this program, because one of them was the language of appreciation for team members. So if you are an individual who's read that love language book, the 4 different areas of love language, it's sort of like that. It's exactly like that, but in the workplace. How do we receive appreciation? How do we like to give appreciation? What has impact and what doesn't? And even though I went through an entire afternoon or morning of training on this subject matter, and I really got to dive into my different team members, I still violated that today. In fact, I was just telling one of my team members that through this conference, and they did such a banner job, we brought 20 different hybrid employees. 7 of them couldn't make it for travel reasons. They had gotten their travel canceled. But the other 20 came together in a house, and over 3 days, we cussed, we fussed, we hashed through some big things. We set big ostentatious goals for next year. And to have that much success, to have that many people collaborating, and especially when 15 of them were female, and everyone had such a good time, such a positive experience. That was such a rock star event for me. And I wanted to make sure that I showed my appreciation to the organizer of it. And I said, wow, you just really shined. You lived in your truth. You knocked this out of the park. I'm so appreciative. And she looked down on her piece of paper. She wrote down a note, and she looked up at the screen and said, thank you. That was it. She said, thank you. And it was end of sentence. And I was like, wow, you really can't take a compliment. And she's like, what are you talking about? I just told you, thank you. Thank you for saying those things. I appreciate it. And then that was the end of it. And so we began to chastise her a little bit about how she was ungracious in taking this compliment. And I was about to go pick on her a little bit more when I brought up our team grouping. And I said, because in my mind, we had that many people together. I said, wasn't one of her languages words of affirmation? And I brought it up, and no, it's her least appreciated value. She doesn't like it. That's not how she hears appreciation. And so it really made me pause and go, oh my goodness, I totally blew that by giving her this, purple prose, this flowery language, making her super uncomfortable and not what she wanted to hear. So I'm going to share with you today about what the exercise was, how we went through it, and what it meant to me. Because when I first got my results, I was like, well, this is garbage. I don't even know why I took this. What a waste of 10 minutes. So the quiz is called Team Appreciation Languages. Team Appreciation Languages. And so basically what you do is you get a series of maybe 25 questions. It's a really, really quick quiz, and it goes through and it maps out how you hear when people are grateful, what you like to experience to know you did a good job in the workplace. Because compensation is one of those reasons. In fact, some of the business owners that I hang out with say, you want to know how to do a good job? I tell you every 2 weeks with a paycheck. And that's one way to look at it, but it's certainly, in my experience, not the most effective way, because what you'll get is somebody that does a job and they punch in and punch out because you've now demoted them to an exchange of just money. And don't kid yourself. This is about money. That's why people leave jobs. That's why they go find better endeavors. That's why they're constantly talking to you about compensation. But you can't, in my opinion, you cannot deregulate people to just transactional occurrences. You're never going to get them long term because they haven't bought into the why. They haven't shown a loyalty and they haven't been treated with the type of respect. I've had people leave my organization, gone for a year, and I just peppered this person constantly to come back because we really valued their contribution. It's not like our whole world was falling apart. We just really valued this employee. We wanted them back. And finally, she did come back, and it wasn't about the money. That's not why she left. It wasn't about her title. It wasn't about her role. She just wanted to see what else was out there and had been promised something else. But she left a higher paying job and came back to us because she said, this is my family. These are people that I love the work we are doing. They get behind, they're supportive. And all of a sudden I had this glimpse of this other environment where it was very cutthroat. It was very backstabby. And even though she was making more money in that other environment, it didn't speak to her values. And once you have a value rub, it's never going to work. So before the conference, we all jumped on and we took this assessment. And then what our operations officer for this particular, we call him an integrator because we use the entrepreneurial operating system. She did an overlap and she said she took everyone's input on it. And she said, okay, what out of the 4 languages, which one is yours? So I'm going to walk you what the 4 are, and then I'm going to give you a couple of examples. So there's acts of service. Actions speak louder than words. There were words of affirmation. Choose kind words wisely because this person will really listen to what you have to say. Quality time, show your support in that person. And of course, what I thought was going to be super high ranking and was not, and this is where most business owners go wrong, is that in our entire organization, all 27 people that I just told you about, only one of them said this was their primary value in the workplace, and that was gifts. So think about that. How many times as business owners are we constantly trying to buy something to show appreciation, where some people, that's not how they receive it. That's not how it makes them feel good. All right, so let's jump into this. So acts of service. This is why I thought the quiz was absolute crap. Because when I first took it, it said that me, Jamie Shilanski, was an acts of service person. And I certainly speak to the acts of service in how I give love and appreciation. I'm very big about showing up for my team. I was raised with the values of being, the first one in the office, last one out, be the hardest working. I've seen my dad grab a vacuum and vacuum the lobby because the receptionist was super slammed and had, coffee and all these other things. And it wasn't below him to be able to do that. Now, he shouldn't have had to do it, but it wasn't below him to show up and do those kind of things. I'm an active service person. I will always show up for the people that matter in my life, no matter what they're going for. And even if they do not ask me to show up for them, that's the most important thing. People get this wrong all of the time. They say, hey, let me know if you can do anything to help. In fact, I had a neighbor 4 doors down. Her husband has a lot of inflammation in his chest. He's got a bunch of liquid behind his heart. And half our street is my age and working, and the other half are retirees living on a golf community. And so we got 4 feet of snow in. He had been in the hospital, and she is 5 foot nothing Southern Belle. And so instead of texting her and saying, hey, is there anything I can do to help you guys? I said, Deborah, I would like to come over. I'm going to shovel your driveway tonight. If there's a specific area you guys stack your snow, would you please let me know? And she was like, oh my gosh, I cannot thank you enough. And so I didn't ask her what I could do. I told her what I was going to do for her. And a lot of times, especially when people are going through significant loss or grief, we ask them, what can I do? What can I do? That's not helpful because that person can barely help themselves. Instead, try to say, I'm going to do this. But if you don't want me to, then redirect me. Tell me where else I need to do something. And so when I read this and I said, I've got a lot of questions because I give acts of service, but I don't expect active service. And this is what was really, really cool for me because then the integrator got to walk me through this and said, no, you are an active service person. This is your primary value because you like it when other people say, how can I help you? I like it when people take tasks I hate to do and I just need to get them done. And the biggest thing, the one that resonated the most with me as an acts of service person was that I feel so much profound gratitude towards individuals that free up my time and allow me to focus. So if you have done something like I just absolutely love, I hired a household manager. There were about 3 executives in my world and we were all struggling with housekeepers, people to do chores, all those kind of things. And we live in Alaska, so we do not have an abundance of those individuals up here. And so I went to a local church and and I said, hey, listen, I'm looking to hire somebody to be a household manager. Here's what I'm expecting. And I outlined the entire job. This is a person that comes in and does the household cleaning, but they also do a lot of inventory in our house. So, if I'm running low on flour, they replace those. If I'm running out of groceries, they replace those. If I'm running out of detergent and I didn't notice it, they bring it to my attention and replace those. And then Wednesday is a dedicated chore day. I hate going to the post office. I hate it. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I want to see what I can get. We don't have post at our houses here in Alaska. We have to go to like a central location, and I don't like it. And so instead, I outsource that to the household manager. And I absolutely love it. And people are like, wow, you're so lazy. No, I'm not, because she's going to go spend 2 hours of her time doing these chores that I don't want to do. I get to do something I do want to do that allows me to be refilling my cup and tons of time to focus and do the things that I want to do. So when people are effective and they show up and they do these tasks and they take a load off of me, then I get to go do the thing I wanted to do, which in my case is to be alone and read. I love to read. I love to read. And so if I have time where I get to be myself and do that, that is just like, that is the biggest gift in the world for me that somebody gave me. And it was great to have my team here, because one of them was like, how do I show up for you? I was like, Victoria, you do an amazing job, because I can hand this over to you and I could say, hey, go call these 6 people and ask them this question. And I know you're going to do that. And you're going to spend the next hour and a half on the phone. And I didn't have to do that. And now I get to go do something else. That was tremendous. And she loved that because I give her in turn what she needs as far as appreciation. So that's for an act of service individual. Now, the way that you show these things may not be the way that you like to receive them. So for example, I am a phenomenal gift giver. I'm very, very intentional about my gift giving. And if you aren't and like to level up this skill, or maybe you have a relationship manager in your office who needs help in this area, there's a book called Giftology, and it's fantastic. Our good friend Libby, she likes to say that gifts with your logo are not gifts, they are marketing. And so if you are branding everything and sending it out with your logo, that is not a gift, that is a marketing ploy. A gift does not have your logo on it. So reading that Giftology book is a great way. But if somebody gives me a gift, I am super uncomfortable. I am really, really uncomfortable with that one, as well as the next one that I'm going to talk to you about. So words of affirmation. This is people that love to hear when they're doing a good job. They love to hear when they're of value. In fact, with some of my team members, I just been working with one that was like, no, I don't need you to pat me on the back all the time. And I said, yes, you do. And she said, no, I don't need that kind of validation. And I said, except you do. And she had to sit there. And I said, listen, somewhere in your past, somebody did not tell you that they loved you enough and thought that you were good enough as a person. And I can't do anything about that. But what I can do today as a leader in this organization is I can recognize how important that is to you. And of course, that just like cracked like a walnut. She was in tears and she came to that realization. And now she was empowered to come to me and say, hey, I'm feeling a little undervalued. Could you give me a little words of appreciation? And then I can tell her when she does knock it out of the park. Now, should you have to do this with everyone all of the time? No, but we're all wired so differently. And her being empowered to recognize that she is that type of person allowed me to give her one-on-one time for that. And so when I do these words of affirmation, and that's how I blew it with our integrator, we had a one-on-one meeting. I wanted to absolutely recognize them and say, man, you did an amazing job. You did all of these things. They felt in the spotlight and she hated it. She shut it down. She gave me monosyllabic words and just 2 of them. Thank you. That was it. She wanted to move on. So if you have people that you are recognizing as a words of affirmation people, and by the way, a lot of people on our team were words of affirmation. You want to recognize them. You want to have a one-on-one or in a team meeting, you want to do shout outs. You want to call out the little things. If you use chat or spaces, tag them, put the @ symbol in there and tell them how they did a good job. A written note, sending a note card. This goes over smashingly. So making sure that you're giving them those kind words, but only when you mean them and they're genuine. Because if they're disingenuine, everyone's going to be able to tell that. All right, the third way, and this is the number one in our office. So across the board, all these employees liked quality time. And this really kind of stunted me because we have some extreme introverts in our office. So I shared with you, operations people are in charge of processes and moving things along. And these are not extroverted individuals. These these are introverted individuals. Morning time is a total turnoff. They don't like a ton of energy in a room. They like quiet space in order to do their work, etc. However, all of them chose quality time, and it's to show your support in person. And I was just so confused. And I said, you're going to have to walk me through this. And it was that they loved when people showed up and spent time with them, the right type of time. And what that meant was I wasn't interrupting their work. I wasn't derailing them. But when the work was completed and they were in a space, I wanted to be around them. I wanted to do something together. And I was just stunted by this because I wouldn't, if you look at everything from an extrovert introvert filter, I missed this entire thing. And then I started thinking about it and I was like, yeah, our chief operations officer at Shilanski and Associates, our RIA up in Anchorage, Alaska, she's an extreme introvert. Her fact finding is level 9. Like she is very, very introverted in that space. However, I've known her for 30 years and she's more social than anyone I have ever met. But since I've known her, she's always kept a Franklin Templeton calendar in front of her. And she would plan out her days in which she was social and the days that she wanted to be by herself. And so she would not overcommit in a week. If she knew she had 2 or 3 things going on, she'd be like, nope, I need Sunday. And she'd turn her phone off and she would just be 100%. So she is a really good self-regulator about when she needs time to be social and when she needs time to be by herself. So don't always look at things through one glass. We're so complex and there's so many different levels of that. But also with the quality time, and I didn't realize this, was that if you miss a meeting, so somebody's language of appreciation inside of a team is quality time, and you are habitually late to the meetings, or you say, hey, I don't have time to meet with you, can we bump it? That person now feels incredibly slighted. They feel that now they are no longer important. What they had to say doesn't have a value, and you deregulated them to a subordinate position. And so being cautious of this, of that, even if you have a ton of things going on, popping in that meeting and saying, Sue, I'm so sorry. I'm running super behind today. It's so important to me to meet with you one-on-one though, but I might have to duck out 10 minutes early. You still showed up. You showed up for that individual. You showed them that you wanted to meet with them in person, that they were important in person. And so that was something that I really took away from this. They also like to spend time talking and brainstorming. So these are not task masters. Like if you give them the task, they want to understand everything that goes into that task so that they can do a really good job. And that was important for me because then when we are assigning, especially things like project, I know I got to have a rally cry ahead of time and tell them what my expectations are so that they can meet or exceed those expectations, but only if I've given them quality time before. One thing we have not been good at, and I'm going to be better about it in 2024 is one of my goals, is to do an after action report, not just when it's the fan, but when you've done something, when you've done a big project, when you've done a big campaign, when you've sent out your value adds for the year, and sitting back and saying, hey, how did that land? How did that go over? How did we achieve success with this? And making sure that we're not always living in the gap, but we're seeing those gains before we're quick to move on to the next thing. Especially for you entrepreneurs out there. If you're a high D, a driver, be bold, be brief, be gone. We're ready to move on. We're ready to move on to the very next thing. And we're not taking time to celebrate or commiserate how we either succeeded or failed in that area. And the last one is gifts. And I would have thought as an employer, all of my employees would have loved gifts, right? But no, it was the least. Only one of our employees out of 27 valued this as her number one priority that she loved to receive. And it was not the person any one of us expected. It's a very quiet person. And then all of a sudden in my mind, I was like, wow, that makes a ton of sense. Because when I took time to send that person a note card and a small gift, she took a picture of it and sent it back to me and said, I can't tell you how much this means to me. And I thought that was a very nice comment. But then when I look across the team and the other ones I had sent such things to, didn't really have a response to those. They were like, thanks. And then that was it. But she was a gift person. She liked receiving the gift. It meant the most because I was speaking her team appreciation language. So if you are running an organization, and this doesn't matter if you are a solo practitioner or an enterprise office. So one of the beautiful things about the perfect RA is not that we're perfect, but we're striving for perfection. We're constantly leveling up. We're revisiting things. This seems like a low IQ task. right? It seems like a low IQ task. What is your team appreciation language? But everyone could not stop talking about this. Between doing the Colby report, comparing it to the DIS report, and doing the team appreciation, we took a half a day of learning experience, and everybody, because we were together all day and then night as well, everyone was buzzing and talking about it and breaking off into little groups and learning things and relating it back to their life, or saying, you know what, I felt like that in that meeting, or, this reminds me of something else that went on. So if you have a solo office or an enterprise, this matters to you. It matters to your team, and it gets them talking. And that's one of the reasons I disagree in not doing this kind of stuff with your team, because you're not leading by example. You need to show them that you are also committed to this. And it's a great insight for them too, because oftentimes business owners of an organization, CEOs, are a little bit removed from the rest of the team when you have the right COO or integrator in place. And so when you participate, you get to bring yourself into that fold. They get to see you as well. They get to understand the different drivers as part of this. So we had several owners there. Myself and one other participated, and it was fabulous. The team kept relating it back and saying, oh, now I know why you do this. Or, I come to you in that and I get derailed because you're such a quick start that you're not spending enough time in the fact-finding area. And so it was really powerful for them to get that insight they would not have otherwise had unless they had spent decades working hand in hand with us, because this isn't something that we always sit down and discuss. This is trial and error. And so when we give ourselves the opportunity to use these tools and then allow our team to get some education on those tools, we're speeding up that process. I mean, there is a reason team bonding and team exercises are so impactful. And organizations that are close do things like this kind of continually, not all of the time, not every quarter, but once a year doing something like this. Super impressive for your team. And it also allows you, especially if you sit in a position of authority on your team, to know how people like to receive their credits. How do they like to receive feedback about their victories? And when I have this up, and I should have done it before giving words of affirmation to our integrator, was I should have pulled it up and said, oh my gosh, that is her least valued, and her primary is active service. Her secondary is gifts. So why don't I send her a little something and tell her how she smashed it out of the park? That would have been far better than singling her out and watching her squirm in her seat to come up with the words, thank you. Okay. All right, TPR Nation, you know that everything we do here at The Perfect RA is 100% about giving you actionable advice that you can apply right now, whether you're a solo or enterprise office, to become a better registered investment advisory firm, to become a better team, to become more powerful and effective, so we can enhance the way that we are running our organizations and delivering massive value to clients. Now, we have several opportunities for you to learn lessons just like this from people that are in the trenches and driving home the things that need to get done and building. You're going to learn, because we were baptized by fire, you're going to learn what worked and what didn't work in our organizations so that you can avoid those mistakes and set yourself up for success. One of the things that we do at Shilanski and Associates, as well as Jarvis Financial, is we continually offer our clients what we refer to as value adds on a regular quarterly basis. Value adds are where we deliver really valuable information about their financial plan overall. And it really goes over smashing for the client, because we're going above and beyond, and we're not just talking about markets. Live by the markets, die by the markets. So we get this opportunity to deliver more value than most brokers out there. And that really makes the stickiness of working with our organization impactful. It really is how we focus on delivering massive value to our clients. But it doesn't end there. We also deliver massive value to our team members. We're invested in their growth, and we want to present opportunities just like what we did in our retreat to learn information like this that makes them better at being humans as well as better in their profession. So if you're interested in more of what we are doing here at the Perfect RIA, jump on our member site, check out our different membership programs to see which one is right for you, depending on where you're at in your practice. And we'll give you that blueprint towards success so you can build the type of practice that makes you feel really confident that you are delivering massive value to your clients and your team on a consistent basis. So let's dive into those action items. All right. So action item number 1, when are you getting together with your team? If you don't already have a team event on your calendar, get it on your calendar. Now, we spent 3 days because we have a hybrid office. So we're all scattered across different locations, and we brought ourselves together into one centralized area. But that might not be your situation. Maybe you already are all in the same area. I've seen a lot of advisors reach out to me and be like, Jamie, after we listen to the importance of working with a hybrid office, now we all get together for one day a week. We do it at the first part of every single month when we're not in surge, and we all go on an adventure, and then we plan through and go through different items together. It doesn't have to be a full day if you don't have the social capacity for that. It could be a half day. You can bring in outside coaches. You can do activities like this. My strongest recommendation is not only that you get it on the calendar and plan for it, but then also that you do some activity that brings everyone together and allows you to discover things that are maybe they're not quite related. Like, we didn't sit here and go for Roth conversions with our entire team. What we did was we did team appreciation languages. So we did something a little on the EQ, and then that in the morning, and then we dove into the technicals in the afternoon. Now, the reason that I plan it that way is because on the EQ side of things, this allows my introverts to be super quiet and just listen because they're not necessarily morning people. And this allows my extroverts to be super excitable and love to talk about this and learn. And then I flipped it and we went to technical in the afternoon because now my introverted people are coming alive and they're wanting to piece things together. And my extroverted people are starting to come down and they're in a better listening place for execution. So look across your team. If it's just one person, that's okay. This still applies. If you're not sure how, link up with other offices. We collaborate with different sectors, especially if we want to bring in a guest that's a higher dollar value. We'll look out across different businesses and say, hey, listen, if I had this luncheon, could we all split the cost and get this speaker here, get this coach here, get this trainer here for this, and then do breakouts across the brand so you could leave with your team after you collaborated in a bigger area. But get it on the calendar and then plan your day strategically. Start with the EQ, flip it to the technical side of things. Those are the two action items I would love for you to take right now that are going to make massive impact before you get super, super busy working in your business. You forget to work on your business. TPR Nation, this has been an episode of Worlds to Conquer. I am Jamie Shilanski. Go find people who share your values and change the world.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother, and wife.